I would have never suspected he would have hurt himself, honestly. He struggled for a long time. As I've mentioned, it does look as though the injury is self-inflicted.
Before Matt Brown died, he said things about his brother that the Brown family never wanted the world to hear. The oldest son of Alaskan Bush People spent years on the outside looking in, while Bear became the face of the franchise. But in raw, emotional videos that fans watched in disbelief, Matt started talking. He talked about substance overuse and his money being withheld. What was Matt really trying to tell the world? And why did the family stay silent for so long? Join us as we unpack the shocking truth before his death. The family that built an empire on a lie. When Alaskan Bush People debuted on the Discovery Channel in 2014, it looked like a dream nobody had seen on reality TV before. The Brown family lived completely off the grid, deep in the Alaskan wilderness, surviving with almost nothing and making it look effortless. Millions of viewers fell in love immediately. The 7 Brown kids became household names overnight. Bear Brown climbed trees, screamed at the sky, and basically invented a whole persona in front of the camera. But Matt Brown, the oldest, was always the quiet one. The one with the haunted eyes. The one who seemed to be carrying something heavy, even when the cameras were rolling and the crew was watching. The show painted a picture of a close-knit wilderness family that needed nobody and nothing from the outside world. They built shelters, they caught fish, and they lived by their own rules and their own code. It was compelling, and it was emotional, and according to Matt Brown himself, in April 2021 on Instagram, it was largely staged. He said the whole setup of the show was manufactured by production, that the family was coached on how to behave, and that the rugged life they were supposedly living was not entirely what it appeared to be on screen. Discovery Channel did not say a word. The rest of the Brown family stayed completely silent. Bear did not make a single comment. Still, people who watched every season noticed the silence coming from Okanagan County. That silence told everyone exactly what they needed to know. The show made millions by selling a story about a real family that stuck together in the wild. Now, Matt was telling the world that the reality was just a setup. Viewers had to decide if they were lied to from the very beginning. Matt finally snapped. When he started talking, everything came spilling out at once. He spent years keeping his mouth shut because people in his circle told him to protect the family secrets. By 2021, he sat in front of a camera looking totally empty and admitted that the secrets were destroying his mind. The rest of the family dealt with the nightmare by pretending Matt was invisible and ignoring every single accusation. The real question fans started asking was not whether the show was fake. It was why the family let Matt take the fall for so many things while Bear got to be the hero of every single episode. The brother who got left behind. Bear Brown figured out reality TV fast. He knew how to play to the camera. He knew that a good scream at a mountain, a wild-eyed sprint through the forest, and a goofy grin could make fans love him. And it worked. Bear became the breakout star of Alaskan Bush People. He got the most airtime. He built the biggest social media following. When their dad, Billy, passed away in February 2021 after suffering a seizure, it was Bear who made the announcement to the world on social media. When anything happened in the family, Bear was the spokesman. Bear was always front and center. Matt was not. Matt struggled with alcohol from early in the show's run, and he said so publicly in a 2016 People interviewed him, where he admitted he could see himself spiraling. He said, drinking started light, and then got heavier and heavier until he could not control it. He went to rehab at the Betty Ford Center in 2018. Around that same time, serious allegations surfaced. 2 women accused Matt of indecent behavior, claiming incidents happened within days of each other while he was heavily intoxicated. The Los Angeles County District Attorney declined to prosecute due to insufficient evidence, but Discovery reportedly fired him anyway. The show quietly erased Matt Brown from the cast with no on-screen explanation. Bear never directly addressed what happened to his brother on camera during those years. He kept posting. He kept screaming at mountains. He kept being the loud, lovable face of the wolf pack, while his oldest brother was living in near poverty in Washington state, not far from where the rest of the family had relocated. Matt, the one who was there from the very beginning, was suddenly nobody in the story the show was telling. Fans noticed his absence, but were never given a real reason for it. People close to the family claimed the brothers were strangers long before Matt died. Bear went on the record saying Matt just wanted to be left alone and cut himself off from everyone. Matt told a completely different story. Before he passed, Matt blamed the television network, the producers, and his own parents for ruining his life and leaving him broke. What happened next shocked fans who had followed the Brown family for a decade, because Matt Brown finally sat down and said the things he had been holding back for years. What Matt said about what really happened. By April 2021, Matt Brown popped up on Instagram looking absolutely miserable. He was living out in Washington state, right down the road from his famous family, but he was completely cut off from them. He told his followers he was dead broke and could barely afford groceries, which made zero sense considering the show was a massive cash cow for the network. After venting about his empty wallet, he finally started dropping the exact truth bombs his family spent years trying to bury. Matt claimed the television producers were actually handing out drugs to the family. He said the crew kept him supplied with substances that ruined his sobriety because a frantic addict made for much better ratings. He also stated his father, Billy, took every single dollar the network paid out. According to Matt, the family pocketed over $300,000 that belonged to him as the oldest working son on the crew, leaving him completely broke while they played survivalists for the cameras. He said the off-grid life they showed on TV was not fully real. Shelters were reportedly built with production assistance. Survival situations were allegedly scripted or heavily guided by producers looking for specific reactions. The wilderness skills that made the show compelling were, according to Matt, exaggerated significantly for dramatic effect. Everything fans believed about the Brown family's authentic bush life was, by Matt's account, a performance put on for the cameras. Not one person in the family stepped up to argue with Matt about the actual facts. Nobody mentioned the missing cash. Nobody talked about the producers passing around drugs to the cast. Bear spent his time posting random photos of his toddler River on Instagram. The family went completely quiet, and stayed quiet for so long that people watching the show figured the accusations were 100% true. Pushing back would only confirm the worst parts of the story. And while the family stayed quiet, Matt kept talking. And the things he said about what life was really like behind the scenes of Alaskan Bush People only got harder to ignore. Bear Brown's version of the story. Bear was not entirely silent about his brother. He spoke about Matt in interviews and on social media over the years, but the picture he painted was very different from Matt's account. Bear said Matt had struggled for a long time with alcohol and drugs. He said the family tried to help. He insisted the family had not abandoned or shunned Matt, but that Matt had allegedly pulled away from them and chosen to live separately from the family unit in Okanogan County. Bear tried to play down the whole disaster during an interview with Screen Rant. He blamed everything on Matt's substance overuse and acted like the missing cash did not even exist. Bear told everyone that Matt lived right down the road, but just wanted to do his own thing. People watching the drama saw right through that corporate spin. Matt was literally screaming on social media that he was starving and broke, but Bear made it sound like his brother just chose a different lifestyle. It is pretty incredible how a person can rewrite a family tragedy into a simple lifestyle choice when television network money is still hitting the bank account. After Matt's death in June 2026, Bear went on TikTok visibly in tears. He said he never would have suspected Matt would take his own life. He said he had worried about an overdose, but not this. He called Matt intelligent, creative, and gifted, and described him as someone who could spend hours teaching himself a new skill purely for the love of learning. And then he said that Matt had been going through a really bad breakup, that he had been drinking too much, and that the family had tried to help but could not get through to him. People who actually watched Matt's social media videos in 2021 knew the official story was a complete joke. Matt went on the record multiple times explaining that his family relations were completely ruined long before any relationship ended. He did not hold back either. He talked about stolen cash, massive exploitation, and a television system that used him up until he had absolutely nothing left. Yet, when he passed away, the news media only wanted to talk about a broken heart and substance abuse. The serious accusations Matt made while he was alive were completely left out of the script. Fans who remembered what Matt said in those raw Instagram videos were paying attention to what Bear was not saying, and the gap between the two accounts felt enormous. The show that destroyed the man. The timeline of Matt Brown's life on Alaskan Bush People is a complete train wreck that is impossible to look away from. He started on the show back in 2014, playing the role of the funny and charming oldest brother. It did not take long for the cracks to show. By 2016, he was already telling the public that his drinking was out of control and his life was spiraling. By 2018, he ended up in rehab at the Betty Ford Center for the second time. That was the same year the allegations became public news. By 2019, the television network quietly kicked him off the show and never gave the viewers a single explanation. Fast forward to 2021, and he was posting videos on Instagram telling everyone he was freezing, dead broke, and did not even have enough food to eat. That is 5 years of a person falling apart in front of anyone willing to pay attention. And the show that made him famous just kept airing without him as though he had never existed. Fans who had watched him from the beginning were left with absolutely nothing from the Discovery Channel except silence. No statement, no episode addressing his departure, and no acknowledgement that one of the founding cast members was reportedly living in serious hardship nearby. Matt's specific claim that production supplied drugs to the family has never been confirmed or officially denied in any meaningful detail. Discovery's response at the time was described by outlets as vague and non-specific. The family never addressed the allegation head-on in any interview, but that kind of accusation, made publicly and specifically by a named former cast member, does not simply disappear because no one chooses to engage with it. It sits in the record. And Matt made sure it was in the record before he was gone. Sources who knew Matt in his final years allegedly told outlets that he was never fully able to move past what had happened to him during and after the show. He worked at an orchard. He posted videos about nature and recovery. He seemed to find moments of genuine peace. But the financial grievances, the estrangement, and the weight of the allegations against him and by him followed him everywhere he tried to go. Bear had the show, a family platform, and millions of followers. Matt had a YouTube channel and a job watering plants at an orchard in Washington state. The contrast was almost impossible to sit with. And in the months before his death, the warning signs were becoming impossible to miss for anyone who was watching closely enough. The last videos Matt posted. In the months before his death, Matt Brown was still active online. He ran a YouTube channel where he showed fans his daily life in Washington state, working outdoors, talking about the natural world, and occasionally opening up about his ongoing recovery. Some of the videos showed a man finding genuine moments of clarity and calm. But some of the content raised serious concerns among fans who had been following him for years and could see patterns that did not feel like progress. The most alarming content appeared when Matt reportedly posted a video of himself in a public park, in a state that concerned fans deeply. People close to him became worried enough that Bear publicly acknowledged before Matt's death that his brother had been struggling and that the family was concerned about him. But the estrangement between Matt and the rest of the Browns was deep enough by that point that meaningful intervention had become extremely difficult. Matt reportedly did not want contact with most of the family, and the channels that might have reached him were essentially closed. Family friend Che Moore, who later led the private search party that recovered Matt's body from the Okanagan River, told Page 6 that he had seen Matt less than 3 weeks before finding him. He said Matt was frustrated about a broken-down truck that was preventing him from taking a trip he wanted to take. Matt was also reportedly going through a painful breakup with a woman he cared about deeply. Bear confirmed the breakup in a TikTok video after Matt's death. Everything was reportedly hitting Matt at the same time in those final weeks. On the night of May 27, 2026, witnesses reported seeing Matt near the Okanagan River. A private search party spent days looking for him. His body was recovered from the river on May 31st by kayakers who spotted his brown jacket blending into the murky water. Noah Brown was present when the body was pulled out and formally identified his oldest brother. The Okanagan County coroner later confirmed the cause of death was a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and methamphetamines were found in his system at the time of death. He was 42 years old. Bear posted a tribute on Instagram that said more about Matt than he had ever said publicly while his brother was alive, and fans noticed exactly that. The truth the family has to reckon with. The story of Matt Brown and Bear Brown is not a simple story about a troubled man and a supportive younger brother. It is a story about what happens when a family becomes a product for television, and what that process allegedly costs the people it uses up. Bear thrived inside the machine that Alaskan Bush People built. Matt was allegedly left behind by that same machine and spent years trying to get people to understand what had happened to him. He made his accusations public. He named names. He described a system. And then he was mostly ignored. Matt's allegations about the show being staged, about production allegedly supplying drugs, and about his father withholding hundreds of thousands of dollars in earnings were never proven in court. But they were also never seriously challenged or disputed by the people who had every reason to defend themselves if the claims were false. The family's silence on those specific allegations was sustained and deliberate. That silence is part of Matt's story, whether the family acknowledges it or not. Bear has faced his own serious controversies. In March 2022, he was arrested and charged with fourth-degree assault for domestic issues involving his then-wife, Raven Adams. According to a police report obtained by Fox News, he allegedly put her on the ground during a dispute over a phone. Bear and Raven went on to have multiple separations before ultimately splitting again in April 2025 after 3 children together. The wild and lovable adventurer persona Bear, built on television, came with a far more complicated reality off-screen. Matt saw all of it from the outside and reportedly had opinions about the gap between Bear's public image and his private life. Before Matt Brown died, he said his truth. He said it from a cold house with no money, using social media because nobody in television was ever going to give him a platform to say it properly. He said the show was fake. He said the family had hurt him. He said he had been left with nothing. And then he spent 5 more years trying to build something real on his own. He almost made it. What happens now with the truth he left behind is a question the Brown family will be living with for a very long time. What do you think the Brown family owes to Matt's memory and to the truth he tried to share? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.